Hey everybody, it's your favorite Canadian info warrior back at you again another week. Another video, at least one, maybe more, who knows. We'll see. See what happens over the weekend. I have a very, very controversial topic to discuss. I'm just going to get right to it. This may even get me kicked off of YouTube. I don't know. It's very controversial. So, when you buy cowboy boots, when you put them on, do the pants go inside the boot or over the boot? I know, very controversial, right? Highly controversial. Hey, you like my new shirt? I'm going to move the mic for a minute. Move that out of the way too. It's called a ghillie shirt, except this one is sleeveless. I like it. The right to bear arms and arm bearers. And I have bare arms because I have that right. So, how did you like the video last week of me driving around? Did any of you watch it even? I bet you didn't. Well, I bet Gary did. And I think James might have. I'm not sure if he's watched it yet or not, but I told him it was up, so he's probably either watched it or going to be watching it. So, yeah, cowboy boots in or out? Pants inside the boot or outside of the boot? Personally, I think you look like a goofball if you're wearing them inside the boot. That's just me. But I kind of understand if it's a specially made boot, because then you want to show off the whole boot, right? So I guess I kind of get that, but I'm still not a fan of the look. I prefer the pants outside of the boot. And when I used to buy cowboy boots, I used to always buy boots that were relatively plain. They had fancy stitching on them and stuff like that, but nothing on the upper that I would want to show off. So, you don't mind covering up the boot with your pants. And that is green tea, not Cabernet Sauvignon flavored Kool-Aid, like last week. So, coming up next weekend, we have is it Thursday and Friday or Friday and Saturday? It is Thursday and Friday. Halloween and Day of the Dead. Now, I've mentioned it in the previous video, I think, but I don't remember everything I said about it in that video. But yeah, that's coming up next week, and I may have said this, I may not have. I'm going to be going to a few cemeteries and placing marigolds at a few graves of family members. And I'm going to be taking a drive out to Atikokan, Ontario, and I'll probably film that drive, but I probably won't film anything at the cemetery. But the reason I'm going there is because my mom's mom and dad are buried there, along with an uncle who died before I was born. That's an odd thing. Do you really call him an uncle if he died before you were born? Because if you weren't, you have to be born to have made him an uncle, right? I don't know how that works. Kind of like my grandfather on my dad's side. He died before I was born. But I don't, I mean, I refer to him as my grandfather. I don't know if that's right or not. Hey, there's something controversial. If they died before you were born, do they still get the title? I say yes. I think that's just a matter of respect for who they would have been if they hadn't died. My grandfather on my dad's side, he died in a rather tragic way. As I understand it, my eldest uncle on that side, obviously on that side, why would it be my uncle on my mother's side, was driving their truck, the family truck, and it was my eldest uncle, my grandmother, my dad's mom, and my grandfather. And that's the order they were sitting in the truck. My uncle was driving, grandmother in the middle, grandfather on the passenger side. And they were coming from Atikokan down to the Lakehead, as they called it back then. The Port Arthur and Fort William hadn't been amalgamated at that time. They were still Port Arthur and Fort William, and most people just referred to the Twin Cities as the Lakehead. And they were coming to the Lakehead to buy a bigger car because the family was getting bigger. So the truck wasn't cutting it anymore. They needed to buy a car. And it was probably going to be a station wagon. And something happened. I'm not sure what. But somehow, while my uncle was driving, the truck kind of went a little sideways. Or not sideways, but moved to the side slightly, and the tire dipped into the soft shoulder beside the pavement, and the truck went over. And my grandfather was killed when the truck went over. He had his window open, and when the truck went over, he kind of went out the window a bit, and this is a little graphic, but the truck landed on him. And my uncle never forgave himself for that. He always blamed himself for his father's death. Nobody else blames him for it. But he always blamed himself. But, yeah, that was... I thought that was... When I found out how it happened, I thought that was rather interesting. My... grandparents on my mom's side, I knew both of them while they were alive. My grandfather died when I was, I think, about 20, 21, 20, 19, 18 actually. Yeah, I think I was only 18 because I remember my mom bought me a case of beer to take out to camp because I wasn't old enough to go in and get it myself yet. And while I was out at camp, my mom phoned out there and told me that my grandfather was on his deathbed and that I had the option to hop on the Greyhound bus and come back to town to see him one last time. But I decided not to because I didn't want to see him that way. I didn't want to have that memory of him. I wanted to remember him the way he was when he was alive and well. And I do. I do remember him that way now. Whereas my grandmother on my mom's side, she had a stroke. And I think she died about 2 weeks after in the hospital. And my last memory of her is she was wailing like a baby when I walked into her room because she didn't want me to see her that way. So that's not a memory I enjoy. And then my grandmother on my dad's side, I never knew actually, I did know my step-grandfather. I knew him, but I was too young to remember him now. Like I think I was around 3 years old when he died, so I don't really remember him. And my dad's mom, she had she was interesting. When she was 86, she had surgery. I believe it was a hysterectomy because they found cancer. And she had had a partial hysterectomy years before that, but now they were doing the rest of it. And she didn't wake up after the anesthetic wore off. And so they told the family that this was on a Friday. They told us that she wasn't going to make it through the weekend. So we should all come in. So we all did. I went there, and my uncle, one of my uncles, my Uncle Alf, went to pick up my Uncle Pat, the eldest, from the airport when Pat flew in from Vancouver, or the island, I think. And Pat got in Alf's truck, and they drove to the hospital, and Pat walked into the hospital room, and she opened her eyes. As soon as he walked in, she opened her eyes and looked right at him. And then the next couple of days, she spent gradually getting better, and her speech returned and her mobility returned. Not fully. She was using, I think she was using a walker after that. But yeah, she made an almost full recovery after Pat walked in. So then when she was 89, she had a brainstem stroke. And she was in the hospital, and they had her fully sedated, and they had her on morphine drip. Basically just keeping her comfortable, waiting for the organs to shut down. Because, that was it. If she survived that, she was going to be a vegetable. And nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted her to survive. So Pat flew in again. Alf picked Pat up from the airport again. Pat got in the truck, and Alf said, "If she gets up this time, you're taking her home." She didn't, though. And now she's buried. I don't remember the name of it, but maybe it is just Broadway, the cemetery on Broadway Avenue. She's buried there, along with her sister and her brother-in-law, my great-aunt Alice and great-uncle Ralph. So I'm going to be going to that cemetery for those three. I'm going to be going to Riverside Cemetery to see my Uncle Brian. I don't know why. I think Brian was the last to marry into the family. He married my youngest aunt on my dad's side. And for some reason, I've just always had a particular connection with Brian. I knew Brian before they ever got married. I knew the family. And when I was a kid, we used to go out to my dad's cousin Billy's place. And Brian's family lived right next door to Billy. And Billy had horses. And Brian and his brother used to take me horseback riding. So that was always fun. Jimmy. I just drew a blank on Jimmy's name for a second there. But yeah, Brian and Jimmy used to take me riding. So I knew them when I was a kid. And then Brian married my youngest aunt on my dad's side. And yeah, for some reason, I've always had that connection with Brian. And so I've been to his grave several times to talk with him. And I'll be going there on November 1st. And then after those two, then I'll be heading to Atikokan for my mom's mother, dad, and brother. So yeah, that's well, and the Thursday I'll be at home in a vampire costume, handing out candies to any kids that may show up at the door. Like I said last week, it's the only time of year that a man can offer free candy to a kid and not be seen as a you know what. So, yeah, that's my plans for next weekend. I'm not sure what's going to happen with videos next weekend because, as you know, I usually shoot on a Thursday and upload them that night. But Thursday is Halloween, so I don't know. I'm thinking I might film some of that. At least the end of, my end of it being in the doorway handing out candies. I don't think I'm going to be, I don't think I should be filming the kids that come to the door. Unless they've got masks on, then that might be all right. So yeah, I'll probably do a bit of that. And then give you probably a reaction video and another vlog entry like this. And I'll probably put any of the Halloween footage on this vlog entry. And then I'll probably film my drive out to Atikokan. Maybe I won't film in the cemeteries. That's disrespectful and usually against the rules of the cemetery. But I will film probably my driving. You'll get that at least. So that's probably 2 vlog videos for next weekend plus the reaction video. So yeah, that'll be about it. Get down in the comments section there. Say hi to Gary. Give this video a like. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube unsubscribes people all the time. YouTube, when, Jesus. When Sterling and I used to shoot the podcast, we would notice that one day we would have 57 views, and the next day we'd have 13. How does somebody unview a video? I can understand somebody going back and changing their like to a dislike. So I can see if we had 50 likes and suddenly we only had 13 likes, although that's highly unlikely that many people would change it anyway. But how does somebody unview a video? So, yeah, you got to watch. You got to make sure you're still subscribed, stuff like that. And you got to talk to Gary. It's a new rule around here. You got to get down in the comments section and talk to Gary. So that's about it for now. So I can't use my left arm. My rotator cuff is really painful lately. But yeah, so God's willing, Daffy Duck willing. Oh, hey, you can't see it from here. You know what? I'm going to show you something here because I don't want to pick up my webcam and turn it around. So I will just show you this. That, pardon the ring light, try to get that out of the picture for you. That picture of Daffy Duck is hanging on my living room wall now. That's a welcome addition to the home decor. All right. So, as I was saying, God's willing, Daffy Duck willing. We'll see y'all in the next video. Ciao for now.